Well, welcome back to Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin here again in beautiful Natchez, Mississippi. It is a glorious July day and we have such a treat for you. We have such a spectacular treat for you today. We're at Sunnyside, one of the city's most beautiful, opulent, and successful bed and breakfast retreats. Sunnyside was built in 1850 for a Methodist minister. This was a farmhouse 175 years ago, but today it is the home of lavish entertaining and grandeur. Come inside and let's see Sunnyside.
Hello, I'm Colleen Wilkins, and today I'm going to give you a tour of Sunnyside. Sunnyside was built in 1850, and as you've probably toured some of the other Natchez homes, this would be considered a cottage, a very modest home. It was built by a Methodist minister. Originally it was 165 acres. I now have 10 acres. Reverend William Watkins was the builder. He was a Methodist minister here in town. He actually preached the first sermon at Jefferson Street Methodist Church here, in the basement. He was a man that believed in pay-as-you-go. The same thing with this home. It took him 2 years to build. And while it was being built, he was the first minister that occupied the parsonage at Rosalie. Now, Reverend Watkins had 8 children. He had 6 boys, he had 2 girls, and actually adopted 3 more girls during the Civil War. So the house was filled with, I'm sure, a lot of laughter and ruckus play. We're going to fast forward to 1864. At that time, Wisconsin troops occupied Natchez, and they were camped at the top of the hill. Well, one of their soldiers, I know him only by the name of Jones, became friends with the Watkins family, and they welcomed him into the household as one of their own. In fact, Hattie, the youngest daughter, fell in love with him. Well, that was all well and good until the Confederacy approached Watkins and asked if he would contribute money, food, arms, clothing, anything he could spare to the troops, and Watkins agreed. Well, Jones overheard that conversation, went back and turned him in, and he was arrested by 7 provost officers and charged with treason. So in the documentation, it said that he was roughly treated and that he'd never been so deceived in his life as he had been by that young man. Well, during his trial, the commandant said to Watkins, "You do understand, Reverend, that the war crimes that you've been charged with are punishable by death." Watkins' reply was, "I know nothing of the laws of war, only the gospel of God." So they set his bail at $10,000, a sum of money that today would be over $1 million. His salary was $1,100 a year. So of course it was a sum of money he never could come up with. So he remained incarcerated until the end of 1865 when they started releasing the POWs. Now, William did make it home. And of his 6 boys, 5 of them went on to become doctors, either doctors of divinity or doctors of medicine. Ollie, the youngest, was a farmer, and the two girls, Hattie and Lizzie, both died in their late 30s, having never married. So I find the history of this home so different from that of the rich planters. This was the real life. This actually here is a picture of Reverend Watkins, who built the house. And this is 4 of his boys, I don't know which ones. In addition to the information that the National Park System gave me, I have been able to acquire some rare books that also has information about Reverend Watkins in them. Now, let's head to the parlor here that I call Annie's room. Welcome to Annie's room. In this room, one of the previous owners, the second owners of Sunnyside, the Remberts, and that's how the street got its name, by the way, and they renamed the house Remberton. But we received diary pages from guests that came for Christmas one year. And as they were leaving, one of them said, "I have something for you." Well, she said, "I'm a descendant of the Remberts," and she gave me all these diary pages. It was like gold in my hand. And in those diary pages, it talked about a death that occurred here at Sunnyside. It was Annie Stewart, and we have her photo, and she was here from Iowa to marry her first cousin, William Claude Stewart, who was a dentist in Lorman. And while she was here, she died of the white plague, or tuberculosis. And so with the permission of the Remberts, we reenact her wake, and it's not a ghost story. We can't conjure them up. We call it a love story. So we talk about the relationship that William Claude and Annie had, but then we go into the rituals or the customs of death in 1887 when she died. So it really is a great story. People love it. We transformed this room into what it would have been for her wake, because we know from the diary pages that she was laid for that wake between the 2 front windows. Now, other customs that we went into, I'm going to only tell you a couple because you're going to have to come see for yourself. But in the pages, the little girl said her mother couldn't come. She was pregnant. It's a custom. Back then it was a custom. If a pregnant woman attended a wake or a funeral, it might mark the child. It could mark the child with a birthmark, a disability, or perhaps death. So we go into all of these customs. We veil the mirrors because we don't want the spirit of the deceased to go to the light, perhaps beckoning the next person in death. Come see us. Now, while I'm pointing this way, I'd like to talk about the portrait above the mantel here. I found it in the attic. It was torn, it was all dry, it was in terrible shape, and I put it on the fireplace in the kitchen. And by the way, there are 11 fireplaces here at Sunnyside. So it was in there when the Mississippi Department of History and Archives came to do studies on that kitchen. And one of the historians picked it up and he said, "You need to get this painting restored." And I said, "I know, it's on the list. But I've got 7 air conditioners, I've got water heaters, I've got trees down. Whatever needs to be fixed around here, it never made it to the top." So then I had one of the historians from the National Park System come, and they were having an event here, and we do great events, by the way. She said, "Do you realize how rare this painting is?" And I said, "No, I really don't." She said, "There are only 2 other black paintings of a black man in the state of Mississippi. One is at Longwood, so if you're in Natchez, you need to go to Longwood for sure. The other one is at the museum in Jackson. So this is the 3rd. Now I'm going to move back to the fireplaces because, again, Watkins was a very modest home at that time. This is the only marble fireplace in the home. All the rest were cast iron. Now this home, when it was built, the walls go all the way to the ground, so you've got a complete footer around each room. So when one of the previous owners decided to put the heating and air or gas lines or bathrooms in, they broke holes in certain areas in the front part of the house in order to run those services. It really is interesting the way this house was built. No basement, but it's I think it's built to be here for a while. If you can see the bed here, this is a Polonaise bed, and this is from the mid-1700s. And it was, at that time, a show of wealth, and it was always in a parlor. So you could receive your guests while you were reclining in your bed. Now, I've never tried it. The dogs like it. And I say pretty things make a pretty room. The prie-dieu in front of it, I tell my guests that if you kneel and say a prayer on that, it's an express elevator to heaven. We're going to go across the hall, and I just simply call that the blue and white room. Here we are in the blue and white room, and here at Sunnyside, in addition to bed and breakfast, I do events. We do showers, baby showers, wedding showers, rehearsal dinners. We do it all, birthday parties. And at some points when I have 50 or more people, this would be one of the dining rooms that I use. And people love this room. It's so bright and airy, and the blue and white is just timeless. Everybody loves that. And so when guests come, I always ask, what's your favorite room? Well, this is pretty high up on the list, but wait until you see the kitchen and the big library. Don't make up your mind yet. It's too early in this video. This fireplace was redone by a previous owner. All the fireplaces in the house, with the exception of the one in Annie's room, were just very simple cast iron mantles. And so they have been enlarged because those cast iron mantles can't be more than 8 inches. So if you tried to put a clock or something behind it, you'd never do that. So this one has been faux marbled to show wealth. It would have been back in the day. And the baseboards in this room as well have been faux marbled. This fireplace is another one that I've had the gas lines put in, and nothing is easier than to just hit that clicker and here they go, they're on. I love it. Now, also in this room, when I redid the plaster last year, I decided not to put any draperies in here, so the light is just absolutely beautiful. And this time of year, the limelight hydrangeas out the window just really frame the whole feeling for this room. It's just fresh and clean and a pleasant room to be in. Now, the jib windows are only on the front. The porch, I'm not quite sure of the length of it, but I'd say 35 feet, maybe 40 all across the front of the house. But the windows from Annie's room and this room are jib windows, and so in the day, they're not operational now. You would raise the windows, open the bottom, and hopefully have cool breezes. I'm one of the houses for Christmas. This chandelier I left, I couldn't get the ice branches out because they were all interwoven, and once you take down 31 trees, by the time you get to that, you say, oh heck, it could just stay. So it stays year round. And it's so hard to make a choice for some of these people that it gives me so much pleasure when people come and they say, oh my gosh, I don't know which room I like, can I pick 2? Well, a lot of times they do. While we're in the blue room, I want to be sure and point out this Swedish room warmer. I found this in a basement here in Natchez, and it's certainly a conversation piece. It's just architecturally fabulous. One of my favorite things, everybody loves it. Welcome to the silver room. Now, here again, when we have big functions and I do a big Thanksgiving dinner, and I've got one group of people that always say, I want to sit in the silver room. So I will seat 8 people in here, and they have their own little private dining room. Once again, one of the fireplaces here has been faux marbled. Now, the mirror here is probably one of a right and a left. I did purchase that here in Natchez, and I'm happy to have it, glad it fit. So that's one of my favorite things in the home. Another one are these 2 figures here, and I don't want to get into a lot of the tour. You need to come see me, come for a regular tour. But these figures go on a pagoda roof. So where the roof turns up, one of these figures would be there, and their arms are spread in order to ward off evil spirit. And they're riding very fierce tigers. So I'm blessed to have those. We're going to go into the little library. Join me in there, and we'll take a peek at some of the old volumes of books that we have here at Sunnyside. Welcome to the little library. And again, Sunnyside has one of the largest personal libraries in the community. And as you can see, we've got a lot of old volumes in these two bookcases here. Some of them are so fragile that I don't even want to pick them up because I'm afraid that I'll destroy them. Once again, this fireplace has been reworked. It's closed off, but it was too small to have a burner put in it. You're going to see stained glass throughout the house. I have 11 pieces. One is in here, but we've got more in the big library and in the kitchen. It all came out of the same church in upstate New York. Now, I'm going to take you into my bedroom. Welcome to my bedroom. Now, how many women invite you in? But this is my bedroom, and when the house is on tour, we always invite people in here as well. This is one of the master bedrooms. We have two on the lower level and then two bedrooms upstairs. I have been able to acquire two fabulous half-teaster beds, and they're both in the same room. My sister said, "You'll never do it," and I said, "Oh yes I will," and I think it's fabulous. I actually have a lot of room in here. When she comes, then we've got 4 dogs and 2 girls in here, so it's a lot of fun. Now, the painting behind me of that beautiful lady is my grandmother. I was lucky enough to have her sit with me and talk about antiques, cut glass or paint a dish, something simple. And through those conversations, that's how I got my love of art and antiques. So bless her heart, and I'm so grateful for that. Now, we're going to leave this room. We're going to head down the solarium. So we need to get you all the way through the house, and I want you to see the kitchen and the big library. So we're on our way that direction. We're going to go to the solarium. Now, this is the Josephine suite, and it's the other master suite downstairs. It's also one of my bed and breakfast rooms that I rent. There's another stained glass in here that's part of this collection that I have out of that same church. And we have a fireplace here again. These walls are solid footers, this room and in my bedroom, so the heat and air comes through the ceiling. we're going to head back into the big library and take a peek in there. Welcome to the big library, and this is one of my favorite rooms. This room was added to Sunnyside in 2006, and the pine that we made the bookcases out of and all the windows in here certainly give you, and the books, what more warmth could you want when you walk into this room, and peace. So have I read all of these books? No, I'm working on it. But when my guests stay for bed and breakfast, I always encourage them to pull out books and take a peek, because there are no TVs. You're on vacation when you come to Sunnyside. No TVs, so you have to look at these books. Now, in here you can see the large pieces of stained glass. There's 4 of them. I have 6 total. And once again, they all came out of the same church in upstate New York. Now, on the bookcases, you'll see some shadow boxes, which there are 6 of those in the room. Benjamin Pollard, in 1880, had a toy store across from the Britannia Theatre in London. Each one of these shadow boxes represent a different play. It shows their actual set designs and costumes. When we do events, this room, I'll take the furniture out and we can seat 38 people in here. A perfect crowd. Out the windows you can see there's the 10 acres that Sunnyside still has. There are different alleys and vistas and statues out there. As you'll see in the formal garden, I've got the 4 seasons, and it's a butterfly garden. I'm on the Rosalind Carter Butterfly Trail. It's a wildlife habitat. I have a small vegetable garden in the back. Love it. I'm taking fresh tomatoes to friends this evening. We're going to go to the kitchen. Follow me there, and we're going to talk about that. You're going to love the kitchen. And let me tell you, the men really love this room, especially the cooks. In this part of the house, you can just really relax. And me, I'm always in the kitchen, so there is a seating area here. And the only TV, when it's turned on, is in here. Now, the fireplace in this room is wood burning. The best thing in this room are these cabinets. Everybody loves these cabinets, and they were made in around 1960. They're not original to the house, but in the 60s, 1960s, and they were made from barns and stable and carriage house that were on the property. So it's all reclaimed wood. Now, the brick, as most of the brick in Natchez, was all made on site. The fire brick all came from St. Louis. I do have some signed fire brick over here. And so that's always intrigues people when they see these brick counters. And I actually love them. Now, the floors in here are the original floors. The planks are irregular. Some are wide, some are more narrow, but they are the original floors. Now, off of this room, I've just renovated and made a new pantry, because when you serve 60 people or whatever you're serving, there's never enough dishes. And none of mine go in the dishwasher anyway. They're all hand painted, and we take great pride in setting the tables for our guests. So I've built another pantry in this adjacent room, which could be used as an office, I suppose. And then off of that is a 3-car garage. So I hope that you'll come visit me. The grounds are beautiful. It's so hot right now to try to walk around, but come see me.
Did you enjoy that tour of Sunnyside? I know I absolutely did. I spent the entire time that we were filming picking out all the things I want to take home with me. If you want to come here and be a guest at this beautiful home, she is a working bed and breakfast. You can enjoy this beautiful opulence created by our magnificent hostess that you met today, who was so gracious to take us through her private home that she also runs as an incredibly successful business. Now, here's something else to keep in mind. Sunnyside is looking for its next steward. Our beautiful hostess may be ready to retire, so Sunnyside is available to sell. Remember, we're not real estate agents. We don't represent the house, nor do we guarantee it, but you can find the realtor's information in the description below. Her contact information is there. Reach out if you feel like you might be the next stewards of Sunnyside, if you'd like to purchase not only an exquisite home on 10 acres in the middle of the city in Natchez, Mississippi, but also one of the most successful bed and breakfast businesses in the city. Reach out. Maybe you'll be her next caretaker. We'll see you next time on Preservation Travels with Lane and Kevin.